Hey everybody, welcome to Moab, Utah, and welcome to our new long-term Ford Ranger Raptor with that 3-liter twin-turbo EcoBoost engine. And in this video, well, I'm out here, just got done with my off-roading. It's time to drive back to Colorado, and we're gonna do a real-world MPG loop to see how this vehicle performs. All right, now as always, we're going to use our 2-click method to fill up this Raptor. So pump until the handle clicks, wait 30 seconds, and then do one more click, and then we're going to hit the road. So let's go ahead and get our trip computer ready here. Starting the vehicle up. Fully digital gauge cluster in this new Ranger Raptor. Seatbelts are on. All right, come on. Let's boot up here. Okay, Raptor status, that's not what we need. Pitch and roll, that's not what we need. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and reset our trip. Gonna hold to reset that. Now the truck is still fairly new. We have 803 miles on this vehicle, so we might run a test a little bit later on as well once we get some more miles on this engine. But that's where we're starting our test off with 803, fully topped off. 320 miles to empty is what the truck is predicting. All right, let's hit the road. Heading out of Moab, Utah. Now, we had a great couple of days of filming with this truck. I had some work to do out here, so it was a little bit impromptu, but videographer Cole came down with our Tacoma as well, which is kind of, in my opinion, the benchmark for a mid-sized truck nowadays. So just wanted to see, you know, not a direct comparison because the Raptor and our Tacoma don't really compete. This Raptor is quite a bit more expensive, but I did want to see, you know, is this an all-round better truck than our Tacoma TRD off-road? And that video I'm really proud of. So be sure to check that out over at alltfl.com. Now, test procedures for today, well, very real world, just driving home. We're gonna set the climate control to 68 degrees Fahrenheit automatic. The Raptor has a bunch of different drive modes. We're gonna leave it in the normal mode. We don't wanna go into sport or certainly any of the off-road modes for our highway driving. And then speeds, right? We're just gonna stick to the speed limit. Through Utah's 80, so we're gonna be moving pretty good, but hopefully we'll get that 10 speed into top gear, keep those RPMs low. And then in Colorado, it's gonna drop down to 75, 65 in some parts, but stick to the speed limit. And we'll talk about some ride comfort stuff and some adaptive cruise stuff and lane centering. And we're gonna check out how all that works in this little impromptu video as well. So should be a good little day. All right, folks, so I'm merging from our 2-lane highway onto the interstate, heading back to Colorado. 32 miles driven. The Ranger Raptor says we've averaged 19.3. That's pretty good for a, you know, off-road oriented truck. Merging on the highway, not gonna go full throttle, just kind of merging consistently. Man, these gear changes are so quick, and the difference in ratios is so minimal. It almost sounds like an F1 car, and that is, I mean, the RPMs drop so little between gear shifts, but now we're cruising 70, speed limit here is 80, turbos are spooling up 77, 78, 79, 80. Onto the highway, and let's try out the cruise control and lane centering. So we do have adaptive cruise. Engaging it now, setting it at 80, and then we also have lane centering, which I can engage with this button, lane keeping system on. And what this does is it allows me to maintain control of the truck, hand on the wheel, but it's the one doing the steering. So it's doing lane tracing, following, and keeping the vehicle right in the middle of the lane. Now I can take my hands off for a little bit. You can kind of time. But if I do this for too long, the truck's gonna know that my hands are off the wheel, and it's gonna ask me to put it back on. There it goes. Keep hands on steering wheel. There's the first warning, and then it's gonna start beeping. So you maybe get like 20 seconds before you have to put your hands on the wheel. I'd love to have Blue Cruise, which is like the full hands-off system that certain versions of Ford products use, like the various F-150s, but the Ranger Raptor only has lane centering, which is good, but it could be better. Let's talk about some ride and handling attributes of the Ranger Raptor. Now, I have spent just a teeny tiny amount of time in the standard Ranger in this all-new generation, and in my opinion, the Raptor is a big step up from that vehicle. Probably unsurprising, but the width of these tires, the 285 width, The huge sidewall and then the Fox suspension mean this vehicle is extremely comfortable. Now Raptors, depending on the era, have been very comfortable vehicles, if not floaty. Like the first gen F-150 Raptor, best ride of almost any vehicle in my opinion, had almost a cattle-like float to it. Second gen Raptor got a lot more firm. Third gen is smoothed out a little bit, and I really think that this Ranger Raptor rides a lot like the third gen on the road. It's a great thing. You do have adjustable suspension on the fly with a button here in the steering wheel. You can go from damper settings, normal, sport to off-road. You know, I kind of like the off-road one for just kind of the softness of it, but normal is just a good compromise. It'll default to normal. Yeah, really, really good. And the seats are good as well. Now, I'm a very narrow individual with, you know, the upper body strength of a squirrel, but they are seats that fit me extremely well. I think if you are a larger individual, probably over like 250, you might find the bolsters to be a little bit tight, but very comfortable seat, heated seat, power seats as well with lumbar control, which is a really great thing. Seating position is also pretty good. You don't sit super high in the truck, but high enough. And of course, if you want to raise that up, you can electrically. Going through a tunnel here, automatic headlights come on. Steering is nicely weighted, a little heavy. There's a couple different steering modes: normal, comfort, and sport. In normal, it's a little heavy, comfort's a little light, and then sport is just heavy and artificial, so I don't love the sport setting, but normal is where you need to be. But one of my big takeaways is kind of the quiet refinement in here. So this is running the new BFG KO3 tire. The first time I've had hands-on experience with this tire. Now the KO2, gosh, I've put many thousands of miles on. I've owned several vehicles. It's a great tire, one of my favorite all-arounds. I did have some experience with this tire out in the dirt. It seemed to perform just as well as the KO2, and I would say on the road it's gotten even quieter. So this is a very refined experience, even at those higher speeds, 75, 80, 80 plus. It's a really quiet tire. Technology is pretty good. So I have wireless Apple CarPlay going. One thing I do want to mention is Ford is one of the few companies who in this vehicle have nailed the wireless charger. So with my phone, I often have a hard time getting it to actually charge with the case on. It's not been an issue at all with this Raptor Ranger. It's also got these little grooves that keeps your phone nice and in place, so that's been great. Wireless Apple CarPlay has been working very well as well. Vertical mounted screen, but it does a pretty good job of orienting itself to the vertical screen. So I've got Waze going right now. Look, you can see that it actually fills up the whole screen, and then we do have some shortcuts here to get to phone audio as well as climate control. That's all really good. There have been a couple of glitches though. Coming out here in Keystone, started the truck up, the screen was black, which is very unnerving. Had no audio, no controls over the screen. Because of that, you also don't have controls over your locking diff, so I was worried that our screen went kaput. It had to go through a reboot cycle. That took a few minutes and it came back, but that was pretty unnerving considering how important this screen is to the operation of the vehicle. Luckily, we do have a couple of physical knobs for climate control, but I'd love to have a physical knob for heated seats, heated steering wheel, like you get in the F-150 Raptor, and especially physical buttons for the lockers. It's a big thing to me, because if that were to happen on the trail and I really needed, you know, a locker in a dangerous event, yeah, that would be bad news. But overall, as a road tripper, it's a great vehicle. Certainly feels a lot tighter than an F-150. I think if you had 4 people in here, you would be pretty squished. But for 2 people, this is an excellent road tripper. Really quiet, very comfortable, good adaptive cruise control, good lane centering, and we're going to find out the fuel economy here shortly. Tank size, so we've done 209 miles. We're in between a half and a quarter tank. The truck is saying 148 miles till empty, so pretty good sized tank size. Yeah, I'm going to keep going quite a bit longer so we can get a more accurate long distance result. Look, this test is very real world. Starting in Moab, we're going to be going up to the Rocky Mountains, so it's not going to be perfectly representative of someone that lives on the beach in California, but it will still be a good test. Pulling off the highway in Silverthorne, Colorado, we are going to fuel up here. Now, I still have somewhere under a quarter tank. It says 70 miles till empty, but I always like to be a little bit on the safe side of things, especially going through the Colorado Rockies in winter because conditions can change quickly. So we are going to pull over here and splash some gas into the Ranger. So we're looking at probably just over 287 miles driven. We'll get the GPS number so we can get that number accurate, and yeah, go from there. One thing which is interesting is, you know, there's a lot of excitement and anticipation about this truck online. You really don't get that same effect in person though. Like, very few people recognize this truck, I think, or really paying attention to it. You know, like you drive like a Ineos Grenadier we had around and people are always looking at you or giving you a thumbs up or asking you about it. I haven't really gotten any of that with the new Ranger Raptor, which is interesting because you guys watching this now are probably pretty tuned in with what this truck is. But it seems like, I don't know if it's a design thing or maybe it's just not that wild. Most folks don't seem that curious about it, except maybe these folks at the gas station. Oh man, out of order. All right, we're gonna fill it up, do the 2-click method again, and then we'll get a sense of the fuel economy in the Ranger Raptor. All right, so there's the truck reading, 18.2, 287 miles driven in 4 hours and 14 minutes. Put it in perspective, the Monroney says that we should be getting about 18 MPG highway. So if that number is close, well, that's gonna be looking good for the Ranger. There we go, we're fueling up. Octane minimum, by the way, is 87 in the Ranger Raptor. All right, the final gallon number, 15.852. Time to do some math, so I GPS verified that from our starting location, we drove 288 miles. So we're gonna go 288 miles driven divided by 15.852, and the final number, 18.16 MPG. So we're just over the EPA number, and that's over, you know, couple mountain passes as well, granted down the other side, but very impressive result considering the tire size, just under like a 34-inch tall tire. Yeah, pretty good. Twin turbo V6, only 800 miles on the engine when we started, and still doing over 18 MPG. You know, it's not Prius levels, but for an off-road truck, it's pretty darn good. Folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below of how this Ford Ranger performed. We'll get Andre to test this vehicle in a more consistent test on the Denver 100 loop. But there you have it, 18 or just over is my real world testing number from Denver, or from Moab into Colorado. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Head over to alltfl.com for more of the latest in new truck reviews.